Well, hi, everybody. Good evening. I hope you're doing well. Thanks for being with us tonight. I'm Ryan Lathan, the manager of marketing and communications at Fort Worth Opera. Welcome to Metropolitan Opera soprano Jennifer Rowley's 8th virtual masterclass on acting. Woohoo! And we are so excited to have special guest John Hoomes with us tonight. He's the CEO and artistic director of Nashville Opera. Yay! Woo! Mr. Hoomes is a renowned stage director with over 200 productions of opera and musical theater to his name, and he has worked with many of the most prestigious opera companies throughout North America and beyond, including Opera Philadelphia, New York City Opera, Glimmerglass Opera, and Teatro Cologne. John, we are so honored to have you with us today.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much, John. We really are happy to have you.
Congrats to our wonderful singers, and I'm gonna pass the baton to you, my friend.
Yes, thank you, honey. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us tonight for the evening edition of, of the Virtual Masterclass series. Welcome to Acting Week. Our 2 classes this week will focus specifically on acting, although you know that I can't always let a technique thing slide. So there might be 1 or 2 technique things in there. You never know. We have 5 wonderful singers with really exciting repertoire tonight. We have mezzo-soprano Erin Moll. We have soprano Marissa Moultrie. We have tenor Joshua Friend, soprano Julia Katherine Walsh, and baritone Samuel McDonald. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much. And we have fabulous stage director and head of Nashville Opera, John Hoomes. Thank you so much for being with us, John.
Thank you. Nice to be here.
So happy to have you. So basically, before we get started, I really wanted to talk about the role of the director. We've talked a lot about the singer and the preparation on the singer's side, and we've talked a lot about auditioning from both sides of the table. And we got to talk to your colleague, Dean Williamson, last week about the conductor's standpoint. Now we really want to hear about the director's standpoint. So can you tell us a little bit about what goes on behind the scenes before that first day where you meet all of us, the singers? How much preparation have you put in? What have you done? What are you involved in as the director? And just sort of talk us through what your job description is as we head into that first day of rehearsal.
Okay, well, I'm the artistic director of the Nashville Opera, and so I'm also a stage director. I direct most of the shows here, but I also select the repertory that we do. And
Fabulous.
so if it's a piece that I find interesting and I think it fits well with the season, then we do it. But to start with, when I first choose a piece, or if I'm hired to do a piece, I always start with the music. I start with the music no matter what. My background is primarily in music, but also theater. So opera is the perfect blend of that. But my degrees are in classical music. And so I always start with the music. And I often start with the music by itself and not the words. And I concentrate on something when I'm listening to a score. And my favorite place to study a score at first is in the car, because I can just plug it in or click it on and it just plays. And if I can listen to an opera in the car and really get it, then I think it's going to work on stage.
Nice.
And so many pieces are written, and it's like you need the stage picture or the theater to make it work. But if you do something like Tosca or La Bohème, you can listen to it and get a lot of enjoyment out of it. And so I start with just the music and listening to it and trying to internalize how it sounds without a score. I just want to listen to it like a tone poem. And then I start putting the words to it and putting it together. And I carefully translate everything depending on whatever language it is. I go through and learn it. For some reason, I usually don't use a score in rehearsal. I find that kind of gets in the way. So I try to learn the score, at least musically, maybe not fully text, but musically as well as the singer would know it. And so you can work very organically like that. I also don't use a score for staging because and I learned later this is unusual, but if I'm doing a show, a lot of the drama and the positioning of it storyboards in my head as I study it.
Mm-hmm.
And so I come in with the piece pretty much formed. I think that's the director's job.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much formed as far as the traffic, and I love traffic to start with positioning and start with where people are in the piece. I had a great professor. I went to Indiana University, and I had a great professor years and years ago, and he said his big thing was there are A, B, and C levels of staging for a director.
Okay.
And level A is just traffic. Where do I stand? Where's the door? Do I sit in this chair? And then level 2 or level B is, why do I sit in the chair? And how do I feel about the tenor? And why am I coming in this door? Level C is more subtext and more esoteric. Like I'm using a blue mug in this scene. Why is the mug blue? Why did I choose to buy a blue mug? And that's really getting into the depth of it. And he said his philosophy was you always had to start with A. Because if you start with A and something goes wrong, or somebody doesn't know their music, or you get stuck, or God knows what, as long as you get A, you still have a show. Because the singers can make it a show with just A. Ideally, you'll get to all 3, but you may not. But with A, you still have that. And I always remember that. And so I always want to start with me having a plan about where we're going with the piece. And I may have a specific idea about a certain moment or a certain scene, but I've been doing this where the singer also has a great idea for that moment. And I'm happy and try what the singer feels, and sometimes it's better, and sometimes it's not. But sometimes it is. Sometimes it can be better, or it can be a combination. But you also need to adjust. I believe adjust your staging to fit the singer you're working with. Sometimes
that's
makes
great.
them look the best and feel the best about what they're doing.
Oh, I'm glad that you do that. Sometimes not all directors do that. I've heard a lot of stories, and I also don't believe in the school where the director comes in, he has not looked at the score, he or she opens the score and says, now show me what you all do here. I hate that too. It's so infuriating.
I don't think that. Then my question is, why am I paying you as a director?
Exactly.
I should just pay the singers more because they're doing it themselves.
Exactly. So basically you're saying you learn prior to rehearsal 1 all of the roles. So singers are responsible for just one, and you learn them all.
All the roles, and also all the music in which people aren't singing. Amazing. In which the pantomimes would happen. Because I remember when you and I did Tosca.
Yes.
And one of my favorite moments in that is the exit of Tosca from the church in Act 1 with Scarpia. And that is in my head, that is a very detailed pantomime of what happens that really sets up the rest of the show. Their relationship. Absolutely. And you were great about that because it's so choreographed in a sense. It shouldn't look that way, but it's very choreographed with the music, exactly what happens, exactly who looks at who when, exactly when she leaves. And I remember there's a moment when she's leaving and Scarpia has her hand and he pulls her back for a second. And that's all with the music. So I'm big on that. And that's probably because I grew up watching Bugs Bunny and Tom and Jerry, where everything was exactly timed to the music when something would happen.
Yeah, of course.
I don't know. It certainly works.
No, I love it. And I love those moments too, especially in Tosca where we did the after she's killed Scarpia and we get that and the placing of the candles. I loved what we did with that. And it is a choreography in a sense. It is a choreography, but my job as the singer is to make that choreography look natural for the character and for the moment. So we both have two, dual jobs going on at the same time. Yours is to make it look good and mine is to make it look good, but to make it look good in different ways, right? So talk to me a little bit about what your expectations are then of the singers, and what, if maybe not expectations, but your dream, right? If you had the perfect cast who came in and was fully prepared as you would want them to be prepared, what would those singers have done prior to coming into that room for the first time?
The first most important thing is they know the music.
Mm-hmm.
That they know your music. And in the professional world, if a singer comes in, they don't know the music. Unfortunately, I don't have time to put you in a coaching and teach it to you. I need to replace you. And I've done that a lot. And it's not the fun part of the job. But if you come in and don't know your music, then you're going to go home. And that's just the way it has to be. I don't have time. Right. But I want people to come in. I want them to know their music. I want them to understand what they're singing, which I think is what you're doing so well with these classes, Jennifer, is it's very important that you know what you're singing. And that is also the biggest giveaway and hindrance in auditions with singers. If I'm in New York and I'm hearing singers sing a song, and I'm hearing like a soprano singing Susanna with Trees on the Mountain, and it's sung kind of as there's no subtext there. If I can't tell, if I can't tell they know how that aria fits, then that's not good. That's not good.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. So you want everyone fully prepared, memorized, having studied their character, also having coming in with some ideas of their own, right? Having thought about this character, having sort of lived with her or him for a little bit, and really sort of, made some decisions on, time period and who they are, and who this person kind of means to them as a person, how they relate to that person, and bringing those things into the room is a good thing, right?
Yeah, well, that's a very, very good thing. A few years ago, I was doing a production of Fanciulla del West, and I had a wonderful tenor, and he had done the role before, and the character in Act 1, I believe there should be an ambiguity about him if he's really good or bad. And obviously he had played the role before, and the director just telegraphed he was a good guy in a bad situation. And so he and I talked, and I said, I think that's less interesting if the audience is ambiguous, because if it's ambiguous in this scene with Minnie, and she's opening the safe and there's money in it, if the audience thinks that you're going to maybe hit her in the head and take the money and leave her there for dead, I think that's more interesting. Because if we know you're just not going to do that, I don't feel the drama. And at first he was going, really? Because singers always want to be loved.
Yeah, of course.
That's the downfall. Singers need to be brave sometime, not to always be sympathetic on stage. Right. And there's some characters it benefits you if sometimes you're not sympathetic.
Absolutely.
But like I said, we talked about it, and he thought it was kind of cool eventually, because then you had a character that the audience can actually watch modify into something else and into a good guy. Because I really believe that when he comes in the bar, this guy, that he's ready to steal the money, but he is charmed by her, and then he's torn. Then he's torn of what to do. But you don't often see that type of nuance.
Well, it's so much more interesting. It's so much more interesting, and we get an actual character arc on stage, and we get someone who grows and changes, and we don't just have this stock tenor character who comes in and plays the good guy. I love that. That's fabulous. So talk to me about the singer in that situation. You said that you had a conversation with the singer about, hey, let's try this, let's do this. You want the singer to be open to that conversation, right? You don't want a singer to come in and say, no, this is the way I do it, and I can't do it any other way.
No, I think that's detrimental for the singer and their career, and also for the show. I think for the piece, it's going to be different with everybody. Singers bring their own strengths to things, and I love when singers are open to different interpretations of something they've done before. Now I have worked with singers, and I did a butterfly years ago, and the soprano had done tons of butterflies, and we were doing a part of it, and she said, "Okay, here's what I do here," and I went, "Well, okay, but." Okay, but see, you're kind of in the dark if you do it. Yeah, but maybe you should try this, because but that it's always a negotiation. But I'm interested in making the singer look their best and be their best. You know, it's not just my idea of that, because I'm very flexible. It's what paints them in the best light as a performer and as a character, and that's kind of what I'm after.
That's wonderful. I love that. I just want to go back just for a quick second about, we had a couple of comments in the chat that said you were reading everybody out there about singers all wanting to be liked and really needing to sort of open yourself up to the possibility of not being liked so much and then growing. And I really wanted to just mention, I don't know if you remember from this production of Tosca, Arsueletta, Tom Layton. Tom was so open. I mean, and really take this as a lesson. The smallest person, the smallest character on stage who has the least amount of lines, he made the biggest impact. And John wanted him to do that. John wanted him to be a bulldog in every scene and be in there and be focused and be a bad guy. Because in our concept of Tosca, John has Tosca shoot him in the face at the end before she jumps off the building. And there would be no purpose for that if he wasn't a total jerk the whole rest of the show. And I'll tell you, my dad sat in the audience for that show in Nashville. And my dad literally said, "I'm so glad you shot that guy. He was such a jerk the whole show." So even guys, in the smallest parts, you know, even if you're Violetta's maid, or even if you're Amina in Otello with Desdemona, you can make a big impact even in that small role, being open to the director's interpretation, you know, being focused in the scene, being organic, listening well, because that was something that Tom really did well. He listened in every scene. He knew what everyone was saying, and he reacted to all the time to everything that was going on. So even guys in these small roles, as you're coming up in the business, I mean, maybe you get to make your debut in a big house as, you know, Amina, or what's Violetta's maid? Anina, right? Anina. If you get to make your debut in some of the smaller roles, those smaller roles can actually have quite an impact. So even in those circumstances, be prepared, be ready to go, be open to working with the director, because quite often, you know, you're doing things that are very important. So just one more question before we move into our singers. I want to know, as the head of a company, as an artistic director, as somebody who gets to choose the programming, how do you balance that part of the job with also preparing to be the director, to stage direct, to get all of those roles learned and all of that stuff? How do you organize all of that time? Because that seems like a massive amount of time and commitment and study. And I think a lot of people here in the class would really enjoy hearing sort of how you kind of organize life with all of that going on.
Well, you do have to find ways to compartmentalize what you do. It is not easy. I've done this now for a long time, and so I kind of have it down. I can't really explain how, but the other important thing when you're running a company is fundraising for that company.
Yes,
that
of
takes
course.
up so much time, and that also it's like I feel that my primary job is raising money, and sometimes I get to do opera. But that is the professional world. But it's a lot of compartmentalizing, and sometimes taking time away from the office just to work on a score and to put it together. When we're doing a season, and we do 4 productions a year of different sizes, and the opening and closing production, I try to have some type of more classic piece or more traditional piece. We may not do it traditionally because I'm doing a Rigoletto later this year, which is all set in the world of film noir, and it's just going to be just like a big movie the singers are dropped into. But at least it's Rigoletto, right? So the opening and closing are pretty much name brands, and then the show, the third show in January, usually is more of a family show, whether it's Gilbert and Sullivan or it's a lighter Mozart piece or something. And then we do a piece in November, our second show, which is, I call it the weird show, because it's very small scale, and we do just some crazy things. You know, we did David Lang's The Difficulty of Crossing a Field, which is insane. We did that, and the audience came, and I take it, the audience came, and some people loved it, and some people ready to kill me afterward. But that's great. I mean, that's what art should do, right?
Yeah.
We did a production of Philip Glass's The Hydrogen Jukebox, right? And we did it in 2 acts, and it was all this video. And during intermission, I made the audience put on these white, like hazmat bodysuits. And then we tipped the projectors, and they all became part of the projections, right?
Oh my gosh.
It was, we do crazy stuff. I fly under the radar here a lot. It's crazy. But that piece was very controversial because it deals with the 60s in America and sex, drug, and politics. And there was a newspaper in town, they'd written an article, a preview article about it. And we had some people at the final dress that apparently were not pleased with the show.
Oh.
As in, you know, we were all going to go to hell for doing this.
Oh.
And they commented on the newspaper, the online article, and then somebody else commented, and it became this like 50 comment flame war from people that loved it and people that hated it. And I thought that should be our mission, is open a conversation.
You're doing a good job. Yeah, absolutely.
And one of the comments, one man said that I was very offended because it was all about sex, drugs, and homosexuality, and the opera is trying to make us think this type of thing is okay. And the comment after that said, I think I see your problem. The opera was trying to make us think, ... And of course, this guy wrote back, and he was just livid. And so, but I love being able to make opera a living, breathing art form that some people love, but you can also offend people sometimes, or make them think, or wonder why they're offended. And a lot of that comes down to the way we do the show and the way the artist interpret the show. I will say one thing. We just did a production of The Turn of the Screw, and I saw Kaylee Nichols is here somewhere.
She is. She's here.
And Kaylee Nichols was our Mrs. Gross in that. And so we did Turn of the Screw, and we had a plexiglass stage, so all the lighting is uplight, so it's insane.
Wow.
But the top of Act 2 for that show, I see as a dream sequence with the 2 ghosts and the governess. In fact, all the characters are in this scene, but it's a weird, warped dream sequence. And the set, we had all these little white baby dolls hanging in the sky, like a rainfall, little tiny dolls. It was very strange. And I remember going to Kaylee, who, by the way, is fearless, and I said, Kaylee, I'm going to bring you into this scene, but I think you should have your hands tied in front of you, and I'm going to take one of these baby dolls, and I'm going to strap it to your face like this, okay? And she went, okay. And so we did. We're going to call that the doll face scene. But I'm thinking it probably had something to do with Mrs. Gross's silence and not speaking out against the possibly abused children. I don't know what it meant really, but that's okay. But Kaylee was brave enough as an artist to go, okay, let's try this. And the thing I like about really great opera singers is they're willing to take some chances like that. And then once you give them something, they're able to take that and run with it.
Yes. That is a fantastic point. And Kaylee is fearless. We had her on our class with Josh Winograde, and she sang absolutely stunningly beautiful. So brava, Kaylee. But We want that for all of you. We want you to be fearless. We want you to stand in front of a director and have him say to you, I want you to do this, this, and this, and have you go, yeah, I can do that. Okay, let's try, you know, because it's much better to be the singer that says, yes, I can, than to be the singer that says, no, I can't do that. It's much, much better, I promise.
Yeah, and Jennifer, one thing too, as far as any advice for singers and young singers especially,
yes, please.
is opera now. Opera today has become very conscious about the acting, as it should.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, years ago, you would sing as loud as you can and you come down front and sing. That's not the way the business is now. A lot of it's about acting. By the way, after I say that, it's always got to be about the voice, because we're opera. I believe that, you know. A great actor who can't sing, I don't want to hear in Bohème. You've got to be able to sing. But it will give you an upper hand with the acting. And when I say that, I mean that if you're there on stage doing something, even if the director did not give you a specific thing, and this is what, Jennifer, you were talking about with Tom in doing Spoleto, you need to find a moment and a time and a presence to fill your moment on stage, you know, dramatically. Why am I there? And I had a young singer come to me and she said, you know, I just feel I have nothing to do up here. And I said, no, you need to find a way to fill that moment. That's what actors do, is they find a time to fill the moment. I don't feel young singers are taught that enough in school.
They're not taught that enough anymore in school. It's almost like they don't have time to do that somehow.
Right.
Which is why I wanted acting week, because I do think that the storytelling is immensely important. And that's why we study the vocal technique. That's why we go to our lessons and our coachings and our diction coachings and all of that stuff, because then we have a control and we have a mastery of our own instrument. So then when it does come time to say, yes, I can, that you actually can do that. And you can connect in a scene, and you can emote, and you can get upset without ruining the voice. Because yes, John is right. First and foremost, this is opera. So the voice has to be there. But the modern audience, they want to be moved. They want you to tell them a story. They do not want to sit there and be bored. They don't. And it is your job to have done that homework and learned your technique and built up that voice so you understand that. So when you go on stage, you can move me. You can tell me a story. And those are the best singers. They really, really are. They're the ones that I want to work with, but they're also the ones that most directors want to work with as well. So with that said, let's dive into our 5 wonderful singers this evening. And we are going to start with mezzo-soprano Erin Moll. Erin, are you there, hon?
Hi, I'm here.
Hi, great. Please introduce yourself and your piece, and we will get started.
Amazing. Hi, I'm Erin Moll, and I'm going to sing Va laisse couler mes larmes from Werther. Just give me a second to get the speaker on.
Et je
Brava. Brava, Erin. Thank you so much. Beautiful, beautiful voice. Big, powerful voice. Yes, girl. John, I'm going to throw it directly over to you to start the conversation, and we'll see where we go from there.
Okay. Erin, first of all, that was beautiful. That was very, very nicely done. Let's talk a little about the piece, and so tell everyone give us the text of the piece, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. So Va laisse couler mes larmes. So she's talking to her sister Sophie, who's about 5 years younger than her. She says basically, "Go away, let me cry," and then she says, like, crying or the tears do me good, my dear. The tears that we don't let out fall back into our soul, and they beat basically like a drum in our soul, sad and weary. And then she says, the heart, when this happens, the heart hollows out and it becomes weak. And the hole is too big and nothing can fill it. Everything breaks it.
Mm.
So it's an upbeat piece, is what you're saying.
Yeah, it's a real,
super upbeat.
real comedy. It's great.
So my only my suggestions with this, if you don't mind, they're looking at it because we're going to be talking about acting and the dramatics of the piece. She is singing this to Sophie, her little sister.
Right.
But I'll tell you the way I like it is that it as you go along with the aria, when the aria proper starts, it starts turning less to Sophie and more internalized to her. Almost like she's trying to convince herself this is okay, and this is the truth, and this is the way the world is. With that said, so it's less a presentational aria to the other person on stage. It may start that way, but I kind of like it then where it turns, and this is very French, where it turns more internal for the singer, for Charlotte. Because if not, the piece turns into a very intense aria, as if someone's standing right in front of you and you're singing it right to them. I'd love for you to find a place in it where we shift that polarity, and we go from it being a moment where you're doing a narrative to someone, and then more that it starts turning more with you talking to yourself and about yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. And I do not have a score in front of me. I apologize. But somewhere into the aria, once it really starts, when it starts, it starts morphing little by little into that feeling for me. And again, everything is subjective, but if we were doing this, that's the way I would ask you to look at it. Because I personally think that's more interesting, and then it becomes about you, and it's not a narrative. And I'm not saying we want Sophie to go away. This is my aria, but I kind of do, right? And the other thing is be careful. And again, personal taste. Be careful about starting it too violently with the va.
Okay.
Okay. I think if I'm not mistaken, in the score it's marked forte and not like fortissimo. It's not, so it's not an attack. But if do you want to try it again from the top and let's play with it a little bit?
Absolutely.
That'd be great. Erin, I also want to, I just want to talk about that internalized feeling that John wants to get. I think also you could go a bit more internalized with your dynamics, yeah? Especially when "Et le fond de bien ma chérie," that's directly to her, right? And this is a good relationship. This is a positive relationship. Your sister, Sophie, looks up to her so much. And so Charlotte should never yell at her, should never push her, should never do any of those things. So if you could try to make it a little bit more I'm talking to a child and I want to teach her a lesson, right? About life and about love in a more endearing sort of way. Yes, you're upset. Yes, absolutely. She's upset. Yes, there's heartbreak here. But there almost has to be this track when that there is another person and you don't want to hurt her. So when you turn it internal, think about the dynamic markings in the score, because elles le font de bien, ma chérie, the dynamic is completely different.
Totally.
Yeah. And then when she goes, les larmes qu'on ne pleure pas, he's written this, les larmes, there's the big like in the score. So it's a really, you can start it from a more gentle place. Think about how much you care about her. Yes, you want her to hear this, but there is an endearment with her. Yeah. So maybe that'll help with the change. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that'll help with the change a little bit.
Yeah. Awesome.
Awesome.
Maybe.
Oh, technology. I know. I know. Don't worry. It's all good. Don't worry.
Oh my gosh, the learning curve is so huge. Like,
Mm.
okay, it says it's connected. All right. There we go.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Beautiful.
That feels
Yeah.
good.
I like, now personally, I like that. I like that better because one thing it does is it draws me to you.
Mm-hmm.
And I love the dynamics. I love the softer dynamics, but it makes me, it draws me to you. And I also like it, and I swear this is a compliment. It makes me uncomfortable because it makes me feel you're saying something I shouldn't be hearing necessarily.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're confessing something, and I love that. I think it pulls me in more. I also think that I love the less angst about it, because there's an old joke about a woman who's very upset about something, and her sister goes, "No, it's going to be okay," and she goes, "No, I don't. Leave me alone. I don't want to lose this. I don't want to lose this anger." And so I think that's what this feels like a little bit to me, that you capture this feeling and then you start kind of talking through it and reasoning through it yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Brava, I totally agree. I loved that so much more. I loved the vulnerability of it. And yeah, John is absolutely right. In the softer dynamic, we come to you in this moment. And then when you really want to let it rip, then it's a more exciting moment because we haven't heard you do that yet. Yeah. And we go, oh my God, she's so upset, right? And it has more impact. And sometimes even with these arias, they're so, this is so famous, and so many mezzos do sing this, and it is stunningly beautiful. It's one of the most beautiful things that you get to sing in your fach. Even though it's so beautiful, and I know as a singer, you want to give it, you want to sing into it. Sometimes a little less is a lot more.
Right, and that's just French, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same, honestly, when you get into some of the verismo as well. If you're if you're singing Donde Lieto Usci, there is something about bada being almost nothing. Bada sotto I guanciale c'è la cuffietta rosa, and it just being a memory and being so simple that we go in our seats, and this aria has that potential to be that way. So find that simple moment, find that internalization like John was speaking about, because it made the voice very special and very warm. And then when you let it rip, very powerful.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely. What I really loved about it is just thinking about internalizing it made the dynamics really easy. I didn't
completely. Completely.
I was just like, because I'm saying this to myself, it was just completely natural.
Absolutely. And we want that. That's fantastic. Bravissima, Erin. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Brava. Brava, brava. Thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to soprano Marissa Moultrie. Are you there, Marissa?
Hi, yes.
Hi. Please introduce yourself and what aria you'd like to sing, and we will go from there.
Great. My name is Marissa Moultrie, and I will be singing I Tradi from Mozart's Don Giovanni. In quali eccessi onore, in quais fatti orribili tremendi, e ho fatto e sciagurato. Oh no, non puote tardar, nel cielo la giustizia tardar. Sentir amarmi la fatale setta, che mio tormento. Divenuto il cor favella, ma se guardo il suo civetto, e tanto il cor mi va
Wow. Brava. Fantastic. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful voice. Wow. Wow. Gorgeous. 23? I can't. Oh my gosh. Okay. I'm going to throw it over to John. Bravissima, Marissa. Wow. Brava. John.
Yeah, that was really beautiful. That was really nice, Marissa. Let me compliment you to start with on the very end of the piece and how you did not disengage when you cut off vocally. I appreciate that a lot, but you see that a lot. I thought that was terrific, that you kept the moment and kept the mood you had set up. I think it's great. And congratulations on the piece. That's a challenging piece to sing, and I know it is. It's tough. It's also a challenging piece in a number of ways because it's so easy that it comes off as a concert aria. Do you know what I mean? Because it kind of fits in the show if you're doing the show, but it kind of doesn't because it was added differently, and so it's a challenging piece to do, standalone piece like that. So that was great. But the challenge in doing it like this, and I'll be honest with you, in a situation like this, in a master class, this is a great selection. In an audition, I don't think it's the best selection because it's long, and it can come off as a concert piece, right? Unless you really find ways to make it interesting dramatically, and that's challenging. That's the nature of the piece. That is not you or any singer. It's the piece. So when I first started doing Don Giovanni, and I've directed like maybe 10 or 12 Don Giovannis over the years, every now and then we would do, the conductor usually says, we need to do Mi Tradi. And so we would. And so often, and when I see other productions, it is like I'm saying, usually she comes out on stage, she stands there and she sings the aria. And it's beautiful music, but it stops the show dead, right? And so I worked a long time on looking at this aria, and you have to almost create subtext for it. And I look for this sometimes when I hear it in audition about what the singer is doing. And kind of like I was talking about the way I approach pieces, the text repeats so much. For me, sometimes the text, once you state it, becomes less important. We understand what you're saying. And then it's about the music and about the emotion and the mood, right? Yeah. So I was doing a Don Giovanni, this has been 6 or 7 years ago, and I stumbled on this thing because we were doing Mi Tradi, and we ended up, I talked to the singer and I said, look, the way we're doing this, and the production itself was not totally traditional. So I kind of got the door open to something different. I said, what if we treat this like your own little one-act opera in the piece? And we'll treat it almost as a dream sequence that she is having, where she goes back over her life and goes back over the mistakes she's made. And so we did that, and we got a staging of that where Don Giovanni shows up during the aria. He ends up showing up, and then two other girls come in. Elvira embraces him at one point. Again, this is all choreographed to music. Embraces him at one point, and it looks wonderful. And then at one point, he slaps her in the face and throws her down and leaves with the other two girls. So even in her dream, she can't get away from her life, right? So it's kind of more of a horrible nightmare. And so that won't necessarily work in a version like an audition concert, but I kind of like, when I listen to it, when we start the aria and start after the recit, right? When we first do our first mitradi, I kind of like a different mood in it, because it's easy to play this piece constantly tragic and almost self-pitying, because you keep saying, I'm betrayed, he has betrayed me, betrayed. I like different levels of it. So as she starts the piece, if you could actually start it, the mitradi, the song itself, if you actually start it a little more upbeat, so you play against the text, almost like you're saying how I've been betrayed and he has done this to me, but you're looking back of the good times. And so it gives you a contrast to the text that I don't expect. Now, and that will not last. As the aria goes on, we can get back into the tragedy of it and how this jerk has treated you so badly. But you know, I know from my own life, I know friends that have been with men that have treated them badly, and usually with, you know, some Haagen-Dazs on a couch, they're thinking, you know, he really does love me though. It's really okay. He's betrayed me, but he's really not that bad a guy. He is that bad a guy.
He is that bad a guy.
And so he is that bad a guy. So I kind of like it when it starts the verse that he doesn't. You don't start it too tragic. Start it more like the idea of a good memory, and he betrayed me, but he didn't mean to. And then you have somewhere to go with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Again, just my opinion.
Yeah. Let me see.
So almost as you start, it's more like a love song to the memory of what he is in your head.
Yeah.
Okay.
Things are falling.
No, it
I
happens.
was trying to get it closer, but that's okay.
No, it's all good.
That's great. And what that does for me, and it's really subtle, is it brightens it up.
Yeah.
And it brightens your voice up too. It gives you a chance to sing, and it's a little brighter. And then from after we finish where you stopped, then you can start going downhill. And a lot of those cues are in the music.
Yeah.
You know, I just like the first part feels like I know he's a bad guy, but I know he really loves me, and I can change him. You can't change him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it just gives you somewhere to go in this piece.
Yeah.
Jennifer, have you something to?
No, I totally agree. I love it. It's kind of like its own little mad scene then that way, isn't it?
It is.
Which
Mad
I
scene.
love. I mean, my favorite thing about this aria, I have to tell you, is the recitative. I just think the recitative in these Mozart arias, they're so special and so important. And the one thing I'd really want to say, Marissa, if you're gonna take this into the fall where you have to use this accompaniment track, I would have someone else record it for you or re-record it, because it's just too fast.
Yep. Yeah.
And we're not punctuating what we need to punctuate, right? In quali eccessi annumi tadam, in cui misfatti orribili tremendi. Change color. Like there's 3 different colors in that first little phrase.
Mm-hmm.
And with the accompaniment track going tick, 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 you don't have time to make those changes, right?
Yeah.
And I want to hear them because you have quite a sizable instrument for someone who's so young, and I want you to have that time to bloom in that recitative, because this really actually gives us these recitatives, especially when you get into Donna and Donna Elvira and Fiore Ligi. These recitatives suggest bigger things in the future. And that's why people love them so much, in auditions. I love to hear Donna Anna in an audition, because to me, Donna Anna suggests Verdi. It suggests those bigger, longer lines in Non mi dir that in 5 years, we could hear some Verdi from that singer, And, we can stay in the Mozart land because you're so young, but it suggests to us this voice is going to grow, right? And I want you to have that time. I want you to have that time in the recitative to allow that voice to really show us all the beauty. Then when you have to mitrari quell'alma ingrata in quell'alma ingrata, then it is as it is, and it's beautiful. But I think you could show a little bit more dramatic impact in that recitative if we just slowed it down a little. Yeah? Would you mind if you didn't use your track and I just gave you a couple of chords and really think about the color changes between the phrases? Yeah, because I really think we'll hear a different quality to the voice. So we go in quali eccessi. In
Quali eccessi onori, in cui misfatti orribili tremendi,
I mean, already we have a different voice. Yeah. Already we have more full sound, we have a woman who's upset, right? We have a woman who is betrayed and scorned, and then we have a reason to sing. Yeah. Anno non puote tardar l'ira del cielo, la giustizia tardar. Change the color. Anno non puote. So we get this. Anno. Brava. Sentir già par. This is different. Sentir già parmi la fatale saletta. And then let the anger build again as we have these little breaks with the accompaniment. Okay, sentir. So you get this. Sentir già parmi la fatale saletta.
Sentir già parmi la fatale saletta.
A scale I can't play. Che gli piomba.
Sul capo.
Another scale I can't play. Now change your color. Aperto vecchio. A lot of bitterness.
Aperto vecchio, il baratro morta.
And then the conductor can respond with. In a totally different color, yeah? Then misera e vira come out of this color. Misera e vira che contra. This is, yeah, let it build. Misera e vira.
Misera e vira che
Contra.
contrasta d'affetti. Infendi nasce.
Ba-dee-dum, ba-dee-da-da-dee-dee. Now, if you start in that new color like John wants, it makes a completely different change of character, right? We had this self-pity, we had this darkness. Now, then we get a different, and we go, what is this? Oh my gosh, she's unstable. She's actually unstable. You know what I mean? So if you can get that recitative to work with the piano, I don't know if you're using a accompanist or if you have a pianist track for this.
Actual pianist, actually.
Right. So have a coaching with that pianist and talk through the recitative so that when that pianist re-records for you, he or she understands the color changes that you want to make. Coach it through first before they make the recording for you to use for, auditions or whatever, because it's so special when we let that voice just come out just a little bit more. And it says to me, oh, this girl's going into Verdi soon. Like in 8 years, we're going to get some good Verdi, So we get some more out of it. And then what John wants for the aria makes complete sense, because it's what am I saying? Or a different subtext that you can bring to it that does make it incredibly interesting. John, anything you want to add to that?
No, I love hearing Mozart, and sadistically I love it because there's nowhere to hide for a singer. I mean, Mozart shows up it's crazy about that, but I like it because it's often assigned to younger singers, but Mozart's hard.
It is.
He demands so much, and like I said, there's nowhere to hide. But that was beautifully sung, Marissa. Really, that was very, very nice.
Really, really beautiful. Absolutely. So if you're going to use this for the fall, rework it with your pianist just a little bit so that when you have that track, you really can get those different changes for your voice. Because then when you change the tempo for me, then it's a wonderful change. And we will see a lot more in this aria than most people give to it in an audition setting. Does that make sense? Yeah. Marissa, amazingly beautiful voice. Bravissima. Thank you so much for sharing your talent with us tonight. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our tenor tonight. Joshua friend, are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Yes, we got you.
Good.
All right, please introduce your piece, your name and your piece, and we'll get started.
Okay. My name is Joshua Friend, and I'm starting on some new repertoire, and I'm going to sing Siegmund Heissig from Die Walküre. So let me just get this going.
Okay.
Siegmund heiß ich und Siegmund bin ich, bezeug es die Welt, das zaglos ich halte. Welser verhieß mir in höchster Not, fänd ich es einst. Ich fass es nun. Heiligster in höchster Not, sehnende Liebe, sehnende Not, brennt mir hell in der Brust, Siegmund, denn schon siehst du Weib, als Brautgabe bringt dich Schwert, so freute sich die seligste Frau, dem Feindeshass entführte dich so. Wenn von hier folge mir nun, fort in des Lenzes lackendes Haus, dort schützt dich Notung das Schwert, wenn Siegmund dir liebend erlag.
Bravo! That ended so quickly. I was so sad that it was over.
Sorry, I just chose a bit from the...
No, that's okay. Thank you. That was very good. John, I'm going to throw it over to you, and I'm going to try to find this scene here in this little crazy score that I've got going on my phone. But go right ahead, John. Over to you.
Okay, Josh, I think that's great. That is great. That is the closest thing an opera singer has to singing rock music.
Yes.
This song right here, because that's what it is, and it's you and this takes us into the ending of the scene of the act, I guess, and it's the climax of the whole thing, and you start it. It's just awesome. Would you set up for everybody to tell us set it up a little bit and tell us what your text is for the most part?
Sure. So this is right at the end of Act 1, and we've already had the nice aria about spring from Sieglinde, and we've had my aria about Winterstürme, the winter storms, lasting all summer long. And now I'm saying, my name is Siegmund, and that's who I am. And this sword that's stuck in the tree, or the cake slice, or whatever this is, I'm going to take this, and you're going to see how fearlessly I can take this sword out of the tree. Nobody else, a bit like Sword in the Stone, has been able to. And this was left here by my father. And at this point, here comes the creepy, he has basically realized that Sieglinde is his sister. And they're going to get together anyway. So at the end of the act...
Let me tell you, here comes the creepy. Is my favorite Wagner synopsis ever. But go ahead.
Love it.
So he says, you are my bride and my sister, and together we're going to strengthen the Welsung bloodline.
Awesome. And you also name the sword, yeah?
Yeah, Notung is this.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you know the famous recording with and there's a bootleg somewhere of Lauritz Melchior. I think it's Melchior, and he got a really bad review because the critic said he did not hold the note on Notung long enough. So the next night there's a recording. He held it like 15 seconds, as if to say, I can hold a note. That's great. That's a great sound. You have a good color for this too. That's very nice.
And this is, I met with Jennifer a few months ago before all the virus, and I've always been told that my Fach is going to be one of those late blooming Fachs, and I only started singing again at about 27-ish. So I'm 31 now. So 4 years in, and really this repertoire only in the last year I've been beginning to look at. So what I would ask, if you don't mind, with arias and people that are quite stalwart, how do you make them a little bit more enjoyable for the audience?
That's a challenge. That is a challenge. I think with this character though, Siegmund, you have more of a chance to do that because I think he has. I don't see him. I think Siegfried is hard. That's a tough character because it you know what I mean? It's a lot of singing that goes on for a long time. I think in this scene and just the way the scene flows and the way you did the aria, I think it makes him more of a character. It's a very exciting character. And like I said, you head toward the climax of the scene here, which is terrific. I love that you have a prop too for this. I think that's a great choice.
It was this or a spaghetti spoon, so
yeah, I think that is a great choice. I had one thing to ask you about. If you have a prop and you're going to use it, right? Would you stand back up, like would you stand up for a second back where you were?
Yeah, my headphones don't go so far with this microphone, but yes, I can stand
That's
there.
okay, that's okay. Can you find a way, and we'll see what's comfortable for you, to take, that's in your right hand, right? If you can stick the end of this into the tree or the wall behind you, so the handle is sticking out over your head, even higher, yeah. If that's comfortable for you, when you pick up and grab it, if you can stick it here, back there, and then eventually you can bring your other hand up. So before you pull it out of the tree, you actually do it, right? And so when that big bomb, we see you actually with both hands then pull it out, and then once you have it out, and again, I think you should use this. You should take this with auditions. It should scare people to death when you pull it out of a bag, but you should take it to an audition with you. But I like that because it's like you're standing in front of a wall or a tree, and this is sticking out of it. And so you can actually hold it here and still sing. I'm all about keeping the air open too, right? So make it high enough, and then you can bring the other hand up so you actually hold it here, and then when you pull it straight out. I think it would give you a good dramatic flow, of just the way it looks. And if you're going to have a prop, I think that's a good way to use it.
And you would think in auditions, last year I began in Wagner by singing Mime, and I took the hammer and a chunk of metal, and it did shock some judges when I started to, do my thing. But do you think that's okay to take if it's this kind of a piece?
Well, again, it's very subjective. I like it. I would like it. Of course, then I'm not a conductor. I like it. I'm a director, and I look for that type of visual. But I think that would. I like to use it. Yeah, I would say so. I don't mind having props in audition if you can bring it in. If it's the thing to do for that aria, if it's the right thing that'll help you tell the story. And that's really what it's about, right? It's telling the story.
I have to say, for a competition, though, don't take it. Like for a competition where we're listening to your singing to give you money, and we're not trying to give you a job. We're just trying to be like, yeah, let's get Josh some money so he can go on an audition tour. Leave it at home.
Yes, I agree.
For John, keep it. For the competition, leave it at home. My darling. We saw each other. Gosh, how long ago was that? Before stupid COVID decided to take us down?
Beginning of the year, January, February, was it not?
Yeah, January, February, in there. Okay, remember how in that meeting we talked about the turn?
Yes.
Oh my God, everyone on this class is so tired of me talking about the damn turn. You have to turn these F sharps.
More? Okay.
Yes, we have to have them turned because this is so exciting, and with orchestra, gosh, it's gonna just and you want that security in the turn. I promise you. Yeah. So when you start Siegmund, start with already turned. Larynx low, thyroid cartilage dropped, anchored in the cricothyroid right here. So drop it first. When you breathe, Siegmund, yeah? Where are we at? Siegmund, I see, yeah? So when you Siegmund, already turned, yeah? Then when you do und sie, has to turn und sie, because then you will have the security vocally to do whatever it is that you want to do. And when that orchestra gets ramped up, you will have no problems with, yep, I'm over it, it's all fine, we're flying over the top, yeah, nothing's gonna affect me. Yeah, because that turn, and we've talked about it for weeks now with the tenors, that turn is literally just the lowering and tilt of the larynx, right?
And mine was too
anchoring, it's a little too high. Yep, it's a little too high. And then we had one note that wasn't quite there for you.
Yeah.
And it's, it's not that it was a high note, it was an F sharp, I think, that went off for you. but the F sharp is really between the F and the F sharp. We've got to turn it. Like every time, like go through your whole score and mark a highlighter and just turn all of them. Yeah.
Sure.
Can you try for me? Try it right at the beginning. You don't have to turn your accompaniment on, but Siegmund, and just breathe in that turn. Siegmund. Sorry, Siegmund. Turn it.
Sigmund heiß ich.
Und turn.
Sigmund bin ich.
Then I have no question of what's. Sorry, I'll let you get your earphone in.
Sorry.
Then I have no question of what's going to come out of your mouth.
Okay.
That makes sense. Then I have security, and as a listener, I go, oh, yeah, he knows. He knows what he's doing, yes? So I think the one that came out was Welse. When you did Das Saglos, ich halte Welse. The get a little underneath it like a German OE, and drop that larynx down in the breath. Yeah? Release, the turn happens. Yeah? Just try for me. Das Saglos. Ich halte. Das Saglos.
Yep, trying to get it in my brain. You think it's the halter that needs more?
It's the Welse.
Okay, I'm with you.
But I want to give you that breath so you can get in there.
Das Saglos ich halte.
Turn.
Welse verhieß mir in höchster Not, fänd ich es einst.
Now the F sharp on fast, the F sharp for ich fast es nun, ich fahr, that has to turn too.
Okay.
Right?
In höchster Not, fänd ich es einst. Ich fass es nun.
I mean, hello. That's
Okay.
amazing. Yeah.
I always worry about overdoing it, but if
No. Let me tell you, as a tenor, you cannot overdo the turn because you want this. I promise you, you want the security of that lowered and anchored larynx because this is hard. This is hard. This is loud. It's a long roll. It sits high. And I promise you, if you start thinking that turn F sharp, you're going to feel like, oh, I got it. I'm good all night long. And that's what you should feel. You should never feel like you're going out there going, oh shit, what's going to come out tonight? You know what I mean? Not that you are. I want you to have that security and that turn, that lowered and anchored larynx. That's going to give you that security. So that in your breath, in your inhalation, turned. Yes, especially for the first note. Yeah, and then ich fa. Get that lowered larynx in the breath and then go straight up. Yeah?
Okay.
You try it one more time for me. The
Beginning or the ich fa?
ich höchste Not und ich es einst so that we get that turn. Yeah?
In höchster Not fänd ich es einst, ich fass es nun.
Yeah. Then you can hold it forever. And
Yeah.
you have no question about it. Yeah?
Okay.
Yes, I knew there was going to be one technique thing. I was going to go away from the acting. I'm sorry. But really, the voice is so brilliant. And the Fach is, we need you. We need you in this Fach. And so I want to make sure that you can sing in it for a long time to come. And you need that lowered anchored larynx in the turn in order to do that.
May I ask one quick question of maybe both of you?
Absolutely.
So obviously I've often confused young artist people, which is fine because my voice isn't perhaps what you think of when you're casting for younger artist positions. My thoughts were to figure this new Fach out while we're all stuck indoors and perhaps travel to Germany next summer or something along that. What would both of your thoughts be on that rather than diving back into the usual?
There's so many studio programs in Germany where you could be a young artist still and be nurtured in that setting. And I think that's actually a very good thing. And we talked about this on a couple of the other classes where, you can totally be very, very honest with people. Write a cover letter, put a line on your resume that says, changed Fach to held in tenor, right? And in your cover letter, you could say, I need some time to grow into this Fach. I need some time on stage. I need some covers. I need some of this, that, the other thing to really learn my craft. And I think your theater and your program would be a perfect fit, you know, for that for me. So I definitely would say like the Berlin studio program would be amazing. The Wien studio program, all those, you know, great, they're really like young artist programs, but they're overseas where you can also work on the German and stuff like that. I don't see any reason why you couldn't also apply for some of the young artist programs here in America. I'm sure Santa Fe would love to have a voice like yours to cover, you know, some of the bigger roles that they have going on there. John, what do you think?
No, I agree. I agree. And what you said about Santa Fe and a company like that that does roles where they would need a cover of this Bach, I totally agree. No, I think I totally agree with that.
And I'm not too old and bald for the yap thing.
No, my darling, not at all. You know, I was still a young artist at 30. When I made my debut at Caramore and life sort of exploded for me, I was 30 and a young artist. But I needed that experience because mine was also one of those voices that developed later. You know, it was one of those bigger voices that needed more time. There's plenty of singers who have gone into, you know, young artist programs late at 28 through 30, 32 and kind of marinated for a little bit. You know, it's also not out of the realm of possibility to go someplace like Academy of Vocal Arts and hang out there for a year, work with amazing coaches for free, live in Philadelphia, have voice lessons, you know, something like that. Just a place where they could nurture you, a place where they could take you under their wing and say, we're going to give you that German, you know, language. We're going to make sure you have the Wagner style, the technique, all that stuff down before you go overseas too. You know, that's also a possibility. And
I speak fluent German, so I'm good with the language.
Perfect. Wonderful. Wonderful. That's
but
great.
in terms of the other stuff, I'm such a newbie to this that I take all your every point on board.
No, I think it would be really awesome for you to do some young artist work for sure, because then, you know, I mean, that's how so many people get into the business as covers. You know, it's a really good way to get paid learning these big roles, you know, then you're not, you know, just kind of blindly at home like, oh, I'm going to learn this today. No, you actually have there's an end game, right? You have to go to work. You have to be prepared. And, you know, most of the time, no, you don't go on stage and sing them, but you're prepared to the point where you could. So then the next time somebody calls and says, we need a Siegmund, they say, oh, who covered it at the Met? And then they call you. You know, it's really great to have those goals of something to work towards. So I absolutely think it would be a great idea. Yeah, absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you both so much.
Bravo, Josh. Fantastic. Beautiful voice. Awesome. All right, we're going to move on to Miss Julia, Katherine Walsh. Julia, are you there? Julia, are you there? I saw her in the chat.
I've unmuted her, but
Julia? She's right there. Amen. More cake cutters. I like it. Julia, are you there?
Unmute again. Here we go. Julia.
What happened?
I don't know.
Here she is. Do we have her video?
I clicked on mute. Why is it not working?
I love it. Let's see if I can find her. Can I find her in the gallery? Is she there? Julia, there she is. Oh, she's going, I don't know what's going on. We don't have audio on you, honey. She's going to call her hubby, I know, because he knows things. Why don't we take a couple of questions while Julia figures out her audio? I mean, we can totally take, there's always questions up here in the chat. So why don't we take a couple of questions and we'll see when Julia gets her sound on, it'll definitely come in, I'm sure. I saw something back here. I'm just scrolling. I saw something I wanted to answer and didn't, but now I have to go back here. Greetings from Nashville. Oh, okay. Julia Hammond asks, what is the best way for a singer to present staging ideas to a director? John, how do you like it? How do you like for singers to approach you when they have an idea for staging? And what's the best way to approach you with that discussion?
I think for me, it depends on what the idea is. You know, a lot of times if we're rehearsing a scene and there's some freedom in the scene and they want to just try, they say, I'd like to try something here. They may not say, and here's what it is. And I'll say, yeah, let me see what you have in mind. And we'll watch it and do it. And like I said, sometimes it's a great idea and it's better than any idea I had. And sometimes not, or it won't fit exactly what we're doing. But I'm very open to singers, you know, suggesting that. I did work with one singer though. We were doing, I think it was Magic Flute, and he was singing Sarastro. And at one point during the aria, he had his hand here, and his arm would do this. He'd get like the bass baritone arm, and he'd like come out. And every time he would have the arm out, and I said, "So you're putting your arm out at that point?" And he said, "That's when I put my arm up." And I went, "Oh, is it? Is that right?" And he could, and I found out though he couldn't sing it as well if the arm wasn't up. So,
oh no!
So we had the arm up, but you know.
So sometimes it just works that way.
Sometimes it just works that way. Sometimes you need stuff.
Yeah, no, I love it. That's hilarious. Okay, we got another one. Julia Watkins Davis. If you don't fit the mold as a young artist, had a big fact change, etc., is there a best practice for approaching regional companies for auditions? John, I'm going to let you go right to that.
Yeah. Yes. We hear. I hear in New York. I will hear singers that are not managed. And we try to put a lot of time for that, because there are a lot of, just because you have a manager does not mean you're the best singer. That's just the way it is. There are a lot of wonderful singers that do not have management. And so, but if you're interested in singing, like for us, you should send something to us. I think our person is Ann Rogers. She's on our website. But ideally, you'd send your information to Ann, send a resume. Or something.
Julia, it's working, honey.
Hey, she's on.
Sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. I swear
it's okay, honey.
This before technology.
It's okay. Just pause for 1 second so that John can finish his answer there. Just
no problem. I'm so
minutes,
sorry, John.
You're fine, honey.
No, it is okay. We're glad you're here.
We are.
To be here
okay. Sorry, John. Go right ahead. Finish what you were saying. It was very good.
But yes, if you're interested in singing, like for our company, or I think any company, although I can't speak for everybody, if you send in a resume to us, then we'll certainly give the option of hearing you. It all depends on what I'm looking for and the experience you may have. But and also you should put on it whether you want main stage or whether you want to look at an emerging artist program. We have a good program. I saw one question about the opportunities there. What we try to do with that, our emerging artist program, is we do have, we bring in 4 young artists a year. They're only here in the spring for about 10 weeks. But as part of that, what I like is that these emerging artists, there is education involved, or there is a school tour involved, there are public concerts involved, but I'm big on giving them main stage experience. And so they, as part of that, you not only would do education, but you would also do small roles or sometimes lead roles in some of the shows we are doing. A few years ago, I did a Così fan tutte, and and my 4 young artists were the young lovers in it. And that was on a main stage show with orchestra and everything. So I really believe that everybody needs a shot and everybody needs a chance.
I love that.
This year we're doing, our young artists because it's a weird year, with the virus and stuff.
Yeah.
We're pushing everything later than usual. So we're going to be trying to do some things, probably socially distanced, in April and then in June. But we're doing Rigoletto and Cenerentola, and the young artists are doing roles in both of those shows.
Fabulous. That's a great way to keep the young artists working too. That's wonderful.
Yeah, and the more experience you can get on stage and working, I think that's really important.
Absolutely. They need the time on stage. I mean, it's, somebody like Josh, who's just even moving into a new Fach, or, you kind of grow up and you realize, oh, I got to be in a new, bigger Fach because my voice grew or whatever. You need that time on stage. You need that time to like walk around and try to sing at the same time. It's one of those things you just need to have. So the Young Artist Program really, really helps with that. And the fact that you actually put them on stage is wonderful. So thank you for that. That's awesome.
Well, and it's great. And one last thing I'll add is we're talking about young artist programs with Josh. A big advantage of young artist programs to me is that the artists that are in these programs, whether it is St. Louis, Des Moines, Glimmerglass, wherever, is not only the performance, but all the performance ability to be there and sing. It's the networking.
Yeah.
And who may hear you and who you may work with. Because I'm much more likely to hire someone I have worked with, whether it's at a summer festival. I like that much better than an audition, because auditions, you have maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes to show me what you can do. But if you're in a young artist program and I can work with you in something, that's better. And I've definitely hired people out of that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's great. Thank you so much, John. Okay, Julia, is it working? Are you there?
Good. I'm here.
Hey, we've got you. Okay, sweetheart, introduce yourself and your piece, and we will get going.
So, my name is Julia Katherine Walsh, and I'd like to sing for you the Queen of the Night's first aria from Mozart's Magic Flute, otherwise known as O Zittre nicht. Okay.
Oh, zittre nicht, meine
of all, you look amazing. This dress is so gorgeous. I want it right in my house right now. Second of all, you sound incredible. It's so wonderful and refreshing to hear a queen with that beautiful middle like that and that beautiful crystal clean German diction. Yes, girl. Thank you. Thank you. Bravissima.
Much.
Bravissima. Okay, John, I'm going to go right over to you.
That was great. That was great, Julia. So what other rep do you do? Just curious.
So right now I am in my package. I've got the controllers arias.
Okay.
From Flight, yeah.
From Flight, from Jonathan Dove.
Right.
I've got the Au Beau Pays de la Touraine from Huguenots.
Okay.
And then I've got Copianiqua, and I have got I know there's another one. Oh, Sombre Forêt from Guillaume Tell.
Okay. Well, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah, because you have a lot of meat in your voice for this piece, which I like. Right? I mean, where you can carry that up to the top too, which is really nice. You know.
That I've kind of, I think it is also a little bit like, you know, some people want that, some people don't. It's, yeah, but I do what
I want it. Keep it going.
I want it.
I want it.
I think it's a great thing. Definitely that you want that darkness in this. So I have a question for you, just in your interpretation of this. Do you think is the queen, is she the good guy or the bad guy?
Well, that depends on the day that you hit me on. I've lived with this aria for a while, and it's sort of, you know, I'm always a woman. I'm trying to advocate for women, and you know, saying like, oh well, maybe are they being perceived incorrectly or all these things, and so I'm trying. And the other thing I have to say is, I am very familiar with what it's like to kind of, and I mean, I think maybe a lot of women are too, to kind of live in a man's world, right? And I'm wondering if, so, I mean, there's a lot in the libretto that's, and the queen, there is a lot talked about her, but she doesn't say all that much besides these two arias, and a little bit in the dialogues that really gives us an indication of what. She doesn't seem terrible. I mean, yes, she asked her daughter to kill somebody, but I feel like she's kind of like a possum that's been backed into a corner, and then she's going to like bite your face off, for lack of a worse
yes. I love it.
That's kind of my thoughts on her, is that she might be evil if she is pushed too far, you know. But ultimately, she has good intentions, and I think she's just maybe veered a little off the path.
Well, that's great. I like that. And one, being from the South, I love the Mozart possum connection. That's brilliant. But I do agree. I agree with you, though. I think intentionally it's ambiguous. And I know Mozart and Schikaneder, I think, were figuring this out as they went along.
Yeah.
And I think there are moments in this first aria where something's, I don't know, she comes off at first as very much a grieving mother, and then she turns really strong.
Totally.
I'm starting to think the grieving mother part's more of an act than the second part of the aria.
Yeah. I have to say, I know, and I mean, we probably all know women like this too, who you know, they have a very quick rebound potential, right? So it's like they're in a situation where they're just like, oh my gosh, my house is on fire, and then like 5 minutes later they're like, but we saved a lot on car insurance. Like,
You're right.
People are just quick rebounders. So
Right. Well, and personally, I've never. It's interesting, and I like the ambiguity. I've never been convinced Zarastro. I mean, he's either a leader of enlightenment or he is a cult leader. It depends on how you look at it, right?
Less about him, I feel like, too. Like, there's even less said about him than Queen. So I totally agree with you. I absolutely believe, yes.
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, very very nicely sung. I love the way. Well, I was going to say you were setting up the track you have, and what I really found interesting is you were saying, okay, now I'm going to sing the aria from the magic flute, and the moment you press the button, the character surged in, right? And I thought that was really interesting. Is that and the intensity of the opening of the piece before you even sang was great.
Wow.
That's a great choice, where it's very intense from the start, and a little. She's a very strong woman from the start.
Totally.
The way you play her, and I think that's pretty great. I think, yeah, I think the Queen gets a bad rap sometimes. Of being some evil shrew, and I think there's more to it. There's more to it somewhere,
I absolutely agree with that, because I also think that, she says a lot of things that if she just had an evil heart and she had no other intentions or no other goals, I don't feel like she could even fake some of the things that she says. I mean, people can be manipulative, but some of the ways she describes things, I mean, ihr schüchterne Streben, like all these things where she says them, I don't think she could describe them in that way if she didn't actually somewhere have a feeling like, oh my God, like I had to see her robbed from me, for crying out loud. Like, I don't think she could, you know what I mean? Like, I think she would have been here.
Yeah.
If I can add something too, I, in doing a lot of study in Elizabeth I, because I was pre-COVID, was supposed to do Roberto Devereux in Sydney. And in just doing a ton of, we love you, in doing a ton of research in Elizabeth I, she was always accused of being a bitch, right? She was always accused of being, she was always accused of having this masculinity, right? And in everything that I've read about her, I have a complete sympathy for the fact, what you said at the beginning. She had to be a queen in a country that was used to a king. And she had to have this firm masculinity about her, or no one would listen to her. And she wouldn't be able to inspire entire armies to go and fight for her, right? However, there is a femininity to Elizabeth, especially in Roberto Devereux, when we hear her talking about Roberto and how much she loves him and how deep that love runs and for how long. I feel like the Queen of the Night is sort of Elizabeth I. Because she does have this femininity, this "Zum Leiden bin ich außer Cote," and then we have these two staccati accents, right? So there's this femininity, masculinity, femininity, masculinity, and it's almost like she has to fight between the feminine side of her and the mother. And also the queen inside of her, or the masculine side, that has to inspire this young man, this young warrior, to go and find her daughter, right? So I know she does get a bad rap, but I feel like if maybe you approached her a little bit more like Queen Elizabeth, where you are sort of having a struggle between, I have to be the queen, but I also have to be a mother. And the tactics involved with that in trying to get him, because what she wants in singing this aria is to get him to go and find her, right? Because she knows he has a reputation, she knows he slays dragons, he can find her. If anybody can find her, he can find her, right? So I think this, like at the beginning, your intensity, I think, was awesome, because it's really this, I am the queen, O zittere nicht, mein lieber Sohn, right? Du bist unschuldig, weise fromm. That's the masculine side. I want to inspire you to go to war.
Okay, yeah.
And then when we get the Mutter has zu trösten, then there's a femininity.
Yeah.
And I think if you explore the femininity,
Yeah.
the vibrato gets a touch too fast
Okay.
through that middle section. I think if you think of a softer femininity, that the vibrato might actually calm down just a little bit in the Tumleiden bin ich auserkoren, but don't forget the masculine side too.
Okay.
Yeah, do you want to try that from the beginning? Nicht? Yeah, try that.
I totally, that's an interesting way to think about it too, because you're right. If you have those two sort of warring factions in your you can kind of accidentally leave the door open, and then one will pop up, and then you're like, shut up. Okay.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. Then it's like, oh no, I said too much. Right. Oh crap, I let the man out. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. Okay.
Yeah, try it. Try from the beginning and really think about that. Think of Queen Elizabeth I. She had to be strong. She has to inspire this warrior, but also she's a mother and she is upset because her child is gone. Yeah. So think about that change between the femininity and the masculinity and see what comes out. We just see. Yeah. Let's play. Change. Brava, Julia. Brava is a different woman. Bravissima. And also the vibrato comes right down. Yes? John, what do you think? Oh, we got to unmute John. Hold on a second.
Not easy.
Hold on. Oh, wait, where'd he go? There he is. Okay, he's unmuted. There we go.
Julia, it's me too. It's okay. It's not you. Okay. Yeah. No, I think that's great. I think that really is a great way to look at it, Julia and Jennifer. That's terrific. I have one question for Julia. As we go with this aria, how do you interpret the coloratura? What do you think it means?
So,
what does it mean as a character?
Initially, like first learning this aria, of course, you see that, and then you're like, I gotta get that shit together. And then you get it together, and then you're like, what the heck am I saying? And so now, after many evolutions of what am I saying, I've come to the point where in that coloratura, so you know how like moms who are, a little bit like slightly too involved or like overeager for grandchildren and whatever else, right? Are like, they say something like, oh my gosh, you should definitely get the minivan. And then their brain is like seeing pictures of children and car seats and vacations together and all sorts of things. That's where my brain is going. Like she's like having these moments like, oh yeah, if I give her to him, then I can go to their castle for the weekend, and then we can go to the lake, and then we can and all this, and maybe they'll have a daughter and like all these things. And so I'm kind of like trying to let my brain go in that path mother fantasies.
I like it.
Cool.
That's cool.
No, I think it's good. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
I
Bravo.
this is kind of ultimately my idea of the high F at the end is kind of where she, you know how like sometimes when you're having a really great daydream or a dream and all of a sudden it gets to the pinnacle and then you like wake up and then you're just like, wait, what? That's kind of how, like what I'm thinking the high F is like. It gets to like, you know, I don't know, they're on like a cruise ship in the Bahamas and then she's like about to get
Oh my God, I love it.
wakes up and then she's like, ah, yeah, right, okay, back to you.
I love it. I love it. That's so fun.
Great.
It's so fun.
Great.
I think Julia, go further with those ideas and don't be afraid of that, because I think, vocally you're so solid and we get that stunning color through the middle. You can make those decisions for yourself now. You can say, this is who I am. This is what I'm doing. These are all the thoughts I'm having. Like all of this is completely 1000% valid. So live in it and own it. It's really great.
Thank you.
It's really great. Bravissima, Julia. Really fantastic. Thank you so much.
Great.
Brava, brava, brava. Okay, we're going to move on to Mr. Samuel, baritone Samuel McDonald. Are you there, Samuel?
Yes, hi.
Yay! And Mary! Hi, girl! We have the fabulous Mary Pinto with us tonight, who I must say is just one of the most wonderful ladies in the entire business. So yes, love, love, love Mary. Great. Samuel, please introduce yourself, your piece, and we are very excited to hear you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Samuel McDonald. I will be singing Yavas Lublu from Queen of Spades. Yavas Lublu, Lublu bez mierna, bez własne myśli gra prosić, ja podwig chwili bezprimierno, gotowy czas Yavas serżit, no znajdzie serca waszego swobodu i ciemiany oczusty zmiat, gotów skrywacja wam w ugodu i pełny czustu gniot na sonia maskatowia, nie tylko lubam sim sukruga, sukoj polecę mi nochda, Shall alba ja min was in kruga, och det skiter igen sig da. Jasna wижу, чувствую теперь я, куда серья печаль залег, как малован ко мне доверия, как чувств словами, как нальет.
Ostrage du war mir auf See, du Scheu. Ja, was no blodes mierda, des was venis in ja prosit, ja por vixi, сейчас для вас лежит.
Yes. Bravo. And brava, Mary. Thank you, guys. Wow, that's such a treat to hear that tonight. Thank you, guys. Bravo, bravo. I love your big jug of water. Amazing. Fantastic. Your voice is incredible. I love it so much. I love the color. There's one vocal thing I want, and everybody's going to want to know. Everybody knows what it is already. I need you to turn a little earlier. Yeah. So at the, just like the last phrase, you get that turn so beautiful with the A vowel, but the note before it that starts with the ah sound, that has to turn too. So that you can go ah in one space without feeling like you have to like gear shift with the stick shift, like to get up there. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah, can you just try that last phrase for me, and then I'm gonna let John talk the rest of the time. But I love your voice so much, and I want that early turn for you so that you can just be like, I'm a beast. Yeah. Yes. Just the one where you go up with the A vowel. I don't know the words. I unfortunately can't find them. But the high one, you start with an A vowel and then go up to an A vowel. Can you turn and lower the larynx for the and then go up in that turn already?
Yes.
Try. Yeah. Yes. Then you have control over it for the whole time. You can spin it to, I mean, you can hold it forever then. Yeah, if it starts just a little shallow in the throat and not fully turned on that at the beginning, then it doesn't do what I know want to do with it and get that big crescendo that you want. Yeah, that was fabulous. So just forever and ever, amen. Turn a note earlier. Okay, John, over to you. I just had you because I love your voice so much. It's so beautiful.
Jennifer, I'm fascinated by that because I am not a voice teacher, nor do I want to be. And I love the technique of it. I love just how one little adjustment can change everything. It's really
everything. Yeah, it's really, especially for men, for male voices, they always learn the turn at a certain note, but when we're going up above that note, we actually have to try to turn a little earlier so that the top is completely secure all the way and you don't have to try to make that adjustment in the middle. Females have a totally different thing we do, but for men, it works every single time. So when I see it, I'm like, I have to give it to you. Sorry. Okay, John, go right ahead.
Okay. So Samuel, that was really beautiful. And I think that's my favorite aria that you rarely get to hear because it's just not done enough, you know. It's so beautiful and it's, you know, and you sing it really well. It is a monster of legato because these phrases go on forever. I've always liked the piece and the aria, and a lot of people don't know the piece very well, the Queen of Spades. It's unusual to find a piece where the tenor is the jerk and the baritone is the good guy. That's always nice too, actually. So Samuel, would you set the aria up a little bit? Give us a little of the text you're doing and set the context of it.
Sure. So this aria happens in Act 2. The scene before, my fiance has just had this really passionate and romantic embrace with another man, the tenor, and
Women.
and I'm automatically noticing a change in her. And I sing this aria to her to say that I am noticing that change. It's basically saying, I love you immeasurably. I am trying to, the first verse is basically encompassing his love for her, and he's ready to conceal his jealousy and put aside all of his bad feelings, and he's ready to not only be a loving husband, but a confidant for her. And he just goes on to in the second verse to kind of say he is saddened by her sadness, and all of his feelings are come from her.
Mm.
And the
Yeah,
end,
it's
I cry all of your tears with you, and give it to me.
yeah, it's a beautiful piece, and it's the ultimate. It's not you, it's me piece. You know.
Poor guy.
And I know, and this guy has done nothing wrong, and this woman he's in love with is in love with the tenor, who's a jerk, I might add. And both the tenor and the girl come to a bad end, I might add. But the baritone is actually the sympathetic character and the good guy in this. For me, Samuel, the challenge in this aria is it's a very tender aria, because he's saying some beautiful things. I mean, the first line is, I'm going to love you forever for the rest of my life, more than anything in the world. But sometimes Tchaikovsky writes it more declamatory, and you need to find the tenderness in it, and that may be a volume thing, I don't know, but he writes it in such a range for the baritone, it's kind of got to be loud sometimes, That to me, that's the challenge in the aria. Because there's a sad vulnerability in the piece for him when he is opening up to the girl, saying, I love you more than anything. I can't imagine my life without you, and I'm ready to do anything for you. I'm ready to slay any evil in your name if it would save you. I mean, he's really opening his heart to her. So. But I'd love to see a little more vulnerability from you when you sing it. That's not easy in the way it's written. But the text, I'd love for you to play with the text a little more, and show me a little tenderness from him, from the prince. Because I don't see him as angry in this piece. But the music makes it sound a little like that. So you've got to find a way to bring out the tenderness and sincerity in what he's saying. That is your challenge in this. I'd love for you, if you don't mind, would you start this again and focus a little on just making it a little more tender, a little more vulnerable on your part. There's a sweetness to it that I would love to see a little more of. That makes your character more sympathetic. It also kind of gives us, it brings the audience to you. I'm big about bringing the audience to people, and it brings the audience to you, and it makes them kind of feel a little sorry for you, because we know what's happened before. He's not totally sure what's happened. He just senses something is not right, and he feels it's his fault, which is the way we are sometimes. It's not your fault, but you're opening up and being very open in this, and very vulnerable and sweet in this. So let me see if you wouldn't mind singing some of it again and show me that a little bit more. Okay?
Sure.
That's great. That's great. That's great, Samuel. And then what that says to me is I know something's wrong. I'm afraid it's my fault. And for me, it really makes you very sympathetic. You sound great in it, though.
Me
That's
too.
a beautiful
I think
interpretation.
so too.
That's
That was
a beautiful
so beautiful.
Yeah. It kind of makes me, it makes me kind of teary if you sing it like that, because it makes me see there's going to be a tragedy coming up somewhere, and I hope you're not a part of it. Does that make any sense?
Absolutely.
Because it gives me feeling that I don't want you to be hurt in the middle of this. It's little stuff, but that's what, and I love seeing that type of thing in audition. I love seeing where a singer has thought through it and has a character and an idea like this. That's really beautiful. That's great. Thank you.
Beautiful. And it also relaxed you, Sam, down into your body just a little bit more and grounded your breath a little bit more for you, because you just went into the feeling and into the words, and then your technique worked for you. Just boop, open and go. It was stunning. Can we go a little bit more forward? Because it was really, I want to hear more. So beautiful. Just where you left off. Yeah. I love this live pianist. This makes me so happy right now.
Good to see you.
I love you, Mary. You're just the best.
So much. Thank you for this opportunity.
Но знайте, сердце вашего свободу, и чем я не хочу стеснять, готов скрываться вам в угоду. И перегневе чувствует но соль я вас готов я, не только любящим супругам, слугой полетным и ножда. Албая mit was im Krugam, утешителем всегда. Но ясно вижу, чувствую теперь я. Seria mečal zaliot, tak malo vam komiedo vieria, tak dusja vami kak naliot, a ja terzaju se tejdaju.
So that's one of those you could turn it early. Yeah? Turn it in the breath. Yeah, and then it'll be totally solid for you. It's so beautiful. I only have to stop you because I want you to turn it early. Turn it in the inhalation. Yeah? So retilt the larynx when you and then you can just go straight out of that turn all the way up, and you don't have to gear shift to retilt it. I know it's early, but try it. I promise it's going to work. The larynx will be happier. That's one of them. Yeah? Just do the phrase before so you can get it in the breath. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. Get ready to turn.
Verstehst du, war mir auf See, du Scheu. Ja, das es merda, des was nelis nid mia prasit, ja, podvix libes primernoi, et ofse chas, triavas virgit, o milaia,
Turn. Bravo. Yeah, you feel how when you turned early and went up, it was just boop right there. Yeah, practice that in because it's going to help you in the long run just to be like, I got it. I'm anchored. I'm ready to go. And make sure that the little base of the larynx right here, the little cricothyroid right at the base, right there. That little guy right there anchors that right down, and it's just gonna hold it right in place for you, so it's not gonna pop up on you. Yeah. And as you go up, you have to keep that down. That way you just feel secure all the time.
Right.
Yeah. And then you get the reputation of being not only an insanely beautiful voice, but also a super consistent singer. And then people hire you over and over and over and over and over and over again. Yes. That was stunning.
Thank you.
Stunning. Like, so stunning. Mary, thank you for being with us tonight. I just have to say, I have to give Mary a small shout out. I hope I don't embarrass you. I have to give Mary a small shout out because Mary is one of my most favorite people in this business. And Mary sent some wonderful singers the people who heard the class last week. Kevin was one of Mary's singers. Gina, who came in earlier, one of the first couple of classes. Mary sent us some absolutely insane, beautiful singers. Mary has also provided a lot of accompaniment tracks for the class. So I just want to give you a shout out because really, thank you so much.
John Hoomes, because he conducted or directed the Elmer Gantry at Montclair State.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That's right. There you go. So I just want to give Mary a shout out because really, thank you, honey, for all your support and for sending us beautiful singers. And anyone who is on the class today who needs an amazing audition recording or a practice track, this woman can play anything. I'm telling you, she can. She made a track for my husband to learn Scarpia in what, like 2 hours, and sent it to him. It was insanely good. So if you need something, you can message myself or message Ryan, and we will send you Mary's information because literally this woman can play anything, and her practice tracks, her practice recordings are just spots off the page, awesome, and they help so much. So I just had to give Mary a shout out because we really appreciate you, Mary. Thank you. And Samuel and Mary, bravissimi, amazing performance tonight. Thank you. It's so nice to have a live pianist, isn't it, guys? Like I miss it so much. Not that everyone with the track doesn't do amazing, but like, it's just so nice to have that. It's just amazing. So thank you so much. Would anyone like to ask a couple of questions before we wrap it up for the evening? I'll just scroll back here through the chat to see if there was anything that I missed. Ryan, did I miss anything, honey?
Oh, everybody was like, oh my God, oh my God.
Oh my God, because there is, oh my God. Oh wait, I got one. Is there an age limit for chorus and covers and those who have had a career but wish to continue performing as a seasoned artist? Jiyun, do you think she means at Nashville? Is there an age limit at Nashville, John, for chorus stuff and things like that?
There's no age limit for chorus. I think we may have an age limit for emerging artists, but I'm honestly not sure what it is. It has changed over the years, but for chorus, we do not.
Yes, Julia, you did hear Montclair. Yes, you did. Mary teaches at Montclair. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there any way you can tell us how to deal with arias which are like super long in terms of pacing with the characterization? For example, like Lucia's Mad Scene or Ophelia's Mad Scene, for example.
It's And you mean deal with it?
It looks like she
Like
wants to
for
know about like
audition,
pacing or like pacing the characterization and kind of building the character throughout the scene probably.
Yeah, I love Lucia Mad Scene. I think it's fantastic. But
I
you
agree.
do need to break it down because it definitely was composed in certain sections and he put it together. And I start by just breaking it down by section. Break it down. I've done Lucia a few times. I was in New Jersey actually. We did Lucia with Lizette Oropesa doing one of her first ones. And she and I worked a lot on the Mad Scene. She'd never done it. Just breaking it down little by little, because it's not only different musically in the sections, it's different emotionally, and because it's a mad scene. And so she goes in and out of different emotions every other page. The emotions change, but that's what I'd suggest is break it down by section and just see it. And the question is, how do you develop over a longer time?
Probably like
yes.
over the longer spans of a long aria, like how, especially, I mean, I always have a problem with this in an audition too. If it's a long aria, how do you sort of like develop it in that sort of setting where everybody stays engaged for 7 to 9 minutes?
Well, and that's hard with a long aria in audition. That's very hard to keep it engaged. But I do think that another question here is the flute her inner dialogue? Yeah, I think the flute's her inner dialogue, or maybe the flute is her image of her lover. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but she definitely hears it and she definitely reacts to it. Definitely. I had one thing I wanted to mention. This is for younger singers, and this is what I usually say if I'm doing a master class of some sort. Is when you come, if you come, let's say I hire you and you come to work as an emerging artist, every young singer needs what I call a party book. I need 5 arias and or Broadway that you can roll out of bed and sing and love. And it's where every soprano needs to learn Quando Minbo, because I always have a need for a soprano to sing them. I don't need some esoteric art song or an obscure, Wolf art song. I don't need that. And I don't need something like Billy Budd's monologue. Don't need it. But I need popular stuff. If you're a baritone, learn the Largo. Or Samuel, learn Some Enchanted Evening. Those Rodgers and Hammerstein songs are songs you actually can sing. They love singers to do that music. But I'm so shocked. I'm shocked that I get a resume from someone, and then we get a rep list. Yes, only Bambino Caro, please. Yes, do it. I get a rep list from somebody, and there are all these weird little obscure arias, and I can't use art song. That's not what we do. I need arias or Broadway. I love Broadway, but I'm shocked how many rep lists I get from singers, young singers, and they don't know any of that. They don't know any of that, and they list these, and it may be because that's what their teacher kind of led them to do in class, maybe. But in the world that I need them in, I can't use that. I need you to have 5 pieces that are standard rep, that are great pieces, and I mean Broadway too. I'm big on Broadway, singable Broadway.
Totally. And, we all have to think about the parties and the donor parties where, we stand around a piano and we do those famous pieces, or a gala concert, or any sort of event, where there are people who we want to draw into the opera, even if it's younger people, college people, high school students, we need those party pieces. You do need to know them. If you're a coloratura, you need to know Glitter and Be Gay. Just have it in your back pocket and pop it out when it's party time, because people love that. I insist that everyone watching this class have a musical theater piece. Find a fun one. And if you need to move it up, move it up. I mean, go on YouTube and look for my Hamilton. I love Hamilton. I took Burn, I moved it up a third, and it's awesome in that key. And I use it all the time because people love Hamilton and they freak out when I sing it. They freak out. Okay, don't go steal my rendition. However, have something that you also love. Oh gosh, could we all just hear Samuel singing "Make Them Hear You" from Ragtime? I would go bananas.
Yep.
Oh my god.
Yep.
Right? I would go
Yep.
crazy to hear that. And at a party, even a donor function, a fundraiser, anything like that, people love this music and they want to hear you sing. They want to hear you sing these pieces. They want to hear things that they love. So John is totally right. When you're any company you're going to, whether it be young artists or main stage, they're going to ask you to do an event. Yeah, it's in your contract usually that you need to do 2 events. It'll be like one party and one opening night party or something like that. And more often than not, you're going to be asked to sing. It's just the way, we need to sell tickets. So we need to put people out from the cast. I've seen, shopping malls and dinners and things like. John, we had a great party before Tosca, didn't we? Where we sang arias. Yeah. It was a country club or something. That was a great party. But, you have to sing at those things. That's a part of your job. It's in your contract. So for that kind of thing, I love to take Pace Pace, because when else am I going to get to sing Pace Pace? So, you can have something that is a party piece that people love. Maybe it's not necessarily your Bach just yet, maybe whatever, but you can play with it and people love it, right? And have a musical theater because they love it. They really, really, really do. John's totally right about that. John, do you have any other advice that you'd like to give to the young singers on the class today before we wrap it up?
Well, there was one question that came through, I noticed, about arias arias that are not good for audition. And again, this is totally subjective, but there are a few arias that I never want to hear again in audition. There just are, because I've either heard them too much or I just don't like them. And again, this is very subjective. Anything from Little Women. Hate it.
I totally agree with you. I hate it too. Never want to hear it.
Things Change Joe is the most meandering thing, and I'm going, oh my God, if somebody did that, I hate it. There's from Ghost of Versailles, some tenors now are singing this, the Song of the Worm. Hate it. Never want to hear it again. Ever want to hear it again.
What is the baritone one? They're all doing Kurt. She called me Kurt. I despise it. I despise it so much. And they are all doing it. It's like everyone's found an anthology of baritone arias that are in English, and they all pick the same one. It drives me insane.
Well, and my other thing, a piece that I love from Lucia is Regnava. Love it. Yes. Not an audition. It's too damn long. It's too long. And I've had people come in, and the way I work, I like to hear two selections from singers in New York. I'll hear 2 from everybody. The first is their choice. The second is my choice, right? But if you come in and choose Regnava, you will sing it, but it's so long, that's all you're going to sing. And I'm going to say, I don't have time. I'm sorry. And you're going to have to, and you won't get a second piece. I don't have time. Yeah. But the thing I want to say is, the last thing, I guess, is if you come into an audition and you never know, and I'm the biggest cheerleader for anybody at auditions. I think they're hard. I know they're nerve-wracking for people and for singers, but I'm your biggest fan. I want you to come in and be the next great thing. I want to discover and go, oh my gosh, I've got to have this person. And that's the way I feel about everybody coming in to sing. I am your biggest fan. And we were doing auditions once, and I was doing Cenerentola. And this mezzo came in who I know she'd sung it a couple of times, and she turned into a really, at the time her career wasn't huge, but it turned really big. And she comes in and she sang the Cenerentola songs, and I looked at the list, second stuff, and she had Cybele from Faust. Now you would never hire this woman for Cybele because she was beyond that, but it's on the list. And so I said, would you sing the Faust, please? And literally she went, doo! She gave me this look like, and so she started it, and halfway through, it just crashed and burned. crashed and burned, hit the wall. She just never took it off the list. It shouldn't have been on the list, crashed and burned. And she left that audition in total despair, and I hired her. Because it's not her fault. It's not. The Cinderella was great. Cinderella was great. But I hired her. And she was shocked when we called her. And she went, really? I went, yeah, that was fine. I understand. I understand. Things happen. Things happen.
I love it. That's amazing, John. Thank you. We all need that story. We need that story so that we know when we mess up one thing in an audition, the whole audition isn't completely lost, because what you've done before that counts. It counts. Yes. I will tell you, I will tell all you guys, I don't know if John remembers this or not. Several years ago, I sang for John in New York for an audition before Tosca, pre-Tosca, actually to get Tosca, I think. And I had flown in the day before to do the audition because I really wanted to sing for John. And I remember this, I got delayed at the airport for like 4 hours, 5 hours. Finally got into New York at like 2 o'clock in the morning, and my audition was at 10:30. And I was not ready because I had not hydrated, I was not showered, I was like not ready to have an audition at 10:30 in the morning. However, I wanted to sing for John, right? So I go in and I sing, and the second thing John asked for was musetta. And guess what happened? I cracked that beef. Like I cracked it so hard, like it was like, it was awful. But guess what? 2 years later, I sang Tosca for John in Nashville, and we had an amazing time. But I cracked that beef so bad. Oh my God. It was like the worst crack ever in life. And of course, I also left going, oh my God, what did I do that? I should have canceled. I should have sang from another day. Da, 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 da. And then a couple of days later, we got a call that John wanted me to do Tosca 2 seasons later. So it all counts. Yes. I crack all the time. Like it's a thing. When your voice is growing, I used to crack all the time. It happened. It's one of those things. You're working on something with your technique, it's not lined up completely yet, and it just, that larynx jumps on you and it happens. Yeah, you'll work it out. Yeah, this was, oh God, what was this? Maybe 4 years ago, 5 years ago? By now I've worked it out. Yeah, so it's okay, it happens, and we move along, and guess what? You're still gonna get hired. Yeah, John, thank you. We adore you. Thank you so much for your expertise this evening. Wow, what an awesome class this was, you guys. Thank you. Thank you to Erin and Marissa and Josh and Julia and Samuel. Wow, you all sang so gorgeously and were so open to new ideas. And I applaud you all so, so much. On Saturday at 2 p.m., we will have E. Lauren Meeker from Opera San Antonio, who, if you have never worked with E. Lauren Meeker, you are going to love her. She is just, she's just the coolest lady ever. She really just is the coolest. So you're going to enjoy that class. She's given our 5 singers homework. So we're going to have really in-depth discussions about translations and character and all that kind of stuff. We're going to share the homework pages with you so you can also do your own homework. And we're really excited to continue Acting Week with Lauren. It's going to be a great time. So if you haven't written to Ryan at masterclass@fwopera.org, please do, and he will send you the Zoom code for that class and get you on the list and make sure you're all set up, ready to go. As always, we do not ask you to pay for these classes. They are free. We are happy to bring them to you, but we are also happy if you would like to donate a little something to Fort Worth Opera. We would be very happy to have any sort of donation that you would like to give. If it is not a possibility in your life right now, we are not asking you to do anything. But if you have something and you can donate to the company, we would like to continue keeping this programming going, because Ryan and I have a lot of ideas that we are brainstorming for all of you to continue on into the fall. So your donations mean a lot to us. We appreciate you all so much. To those who already have donated, we appreciate you, John, for being here with us. We appreciate all of the singers and the people who we're seeing new faces on here today, which thank you guys so much for joining us. And we are seeing our repeat customers. We love you guys. You are fabulous. We love seeing your faces every week, and we hope we're going to be able to bring you lots more of these classes. as we get into preparing for the virtual audition season, which is definitely coming. You know, it's going to happen in like 4 weeks, right? So we appreciate all of you. Thank you guys so much for joining us. Ryan, I'm going to throw it back to you, and we will see everyone on Saturday.
John, thank you so much.
So
I mean, from everybody down here in Fort Worth, I just want to tell you how wonderful it was to have you here with us tonight. So thank you. And Jennifer, thank you for gracing us with your fabulosity as usual.
Love you.
And for inviting John, thank you. And for Erin and Marissa and Josh and Julia and Samuel, you all were so good.
So good.
So good.
So good.
Thank you to everybody who was watching, who has been here tonight watching us, and we look forward to seeing you this weekend. And I hope you have a great night. And that's it.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Bye, everybody.